Remember who you are. What does it mean to remember who you are? Remembering who you are means to remember before you were told who you are. Okay? That original light, the original authenticity, the child, the inner child. There's many Freudian, Jungian concepts about the inner child and how it relates to our life. One way we're not really thinking about is health-wise, nutritionally as well, and our energy levels in life. You know, you look at a kid. A kid's very robust and jumping around. Parents are usually screaming at the kids, "Stop jumping around." Da, da, da. Well, we live very domesticated lives. So when I say that, like, domesticated, I know it's cool on one level, but where it's not cool is that, you know, we're contorted, told to sit in positions that are not biologically conducive towards the betterment of our own health. You know, when we're sitting in a desk all day underneath fluorescent lights in a school, that is the worst thing for mental performance that we can possibly do. And not only that, school is not for critical thinking. School is more in relation to following orders. You are graded on your ability to follow orders. 1 + 1 is 3. 1 + 1 is 3. Okay, we get it. You know, so what I'm really getting at with our inner child and finding that in a health way is that we're in an era where you need so many nootropics and coffee and stimulants of like, I need 5 packets of this protein powder to be able to get my workout done. I need this and that to do this. Well, when you were a child, did you really need all that? Did you need coffee? I want to know how many kids, how many of you that love coffee right now, when you were a small child, how many of you needed coffee? You didn't need coffee. You went outside and you did whatever the hell you wanted to do. You roll around the mud, you played, made up games. If you didn't have something to do, you'd be like, well, I'm such and such and you're such and such, and we're going to defend the castle and save the princess from the evil monster king of the Orkland. Right? You made stuff up. It was imagination. Imagination was your fuel. You didn't need high octane coffee. You didn't need nootropics. I mean, nootropics are like the new drug thing. I mean, I'm not totally knocking nootropics, but you got to understand that when you're sitting there being like, I want this GABA, at a certain point, you're no different than a meth addict, and you're just sitting there munching down nootropics all day thinking you're doing something, instead of realizing that real longevity is about returning to that inner child, returning to that space where imagination is the fuel of life. Children don't need nootropics. Children don't need coffee. Children don't need beer to be social. Okay? Children are just being. That's why the Tao is always about returning to the child. Right? You'll see all throughout the Tao Te Ching that when you seek this, you seek that, your heart will never unclench. So much of our society is about you got to go out and get. You got to get something. You got to seek and get. A lot of the Tao talks about being in a position of returning. Okay? Returning. So when we look at immortality and overall longevity, quality of life, is it really about seeking? Is it that, I need... Is it really about that? Or is it more related to returning? Returning to a youthful state of being, right? Returning to a space where you didn't need anything to go outside. You didn't need anything to be social. You didn't need anything to play. And we've lost a great amount of that. I don't want to put too much blame on our Prussian-based public school system, but hey, it is what it is. I mean, we're contorting, we're violating the basic foundations of youth. So something to pay attention to is how much imagination do we put into our life, and what are we really fueled by? Are we fueled by coffee, or is the coffee just to make up the lack of imagination, the lack of natural fuel that we should have?